afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much, Peter. As a scientist, it's sometimes hard to communicate such a complex issue. And I hope I don't disappoint today, but in the words of Richard Somerville, it should be possible to speak about the science in plain English. But though asking a scientist to do that is like asking a cat to bark. So I hope I can make this clear and coherent for everyone. We're living in a time when great changes are taking place in the Earth's climate system. Change was brought about primarily, not entirely, but primarily by human activities. The Arctic is losing ice volume at an accelerating rate, as are glaciers and ice sheets, including the Greenland and West Antarctic ice sheet. Extreme weather events are on the increase. The unique fingerprints of warming caused by increases in greenhouse gases have been identified. So human-induced climate change is happening now. It's not a hoax, it's not a myth. I wish it were. It is very real. But what does the future hold? That question might best be answered, not necessarily looking at models, but looking at how the Earth's climate system responded to adding CO2 in the past. So what can we learn from Earth's past? The Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum at Meteorologist was a period of natural global warming about 56 million years ago, and is thought to be caused by a huge injection of carbon into the atmosphere. At one point, it is estimated the temperatures rose by about 6 to 8 degrees Celsius in 20,000 years. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, the global temperatures were 4 degrees colder than where they are now, 4 to 5 degrees colder than they are now. There's about a mile of ice above us. And although there was a mass extinction event in the oceans during that time, the terrestrial ecosystems were able to adapt to the warming because it was so gradual. It was 6 to 8 degrees Celsius over 20,000 years. We're talking about 4 degrees Celsius in 350 years. So we're adding CO2 into the atmosphere 10 times faster than we were back then during the thermal maximum, and the planet is warming at a rate 20 times faster. So the biosphere now will probably not be able to adapt as well this time. Another problem, and they call it global warming's evil twin, is ocean acidification. And that is occurring now far greater than it occurred during that global maximum. And that presents huge challenges to the oceans, on which so many people are dependent, and it's yet another pressure in addition to overfishing and pollution. Let's come a little closer to time. The last 10,000 years called the Holocene, and that's when humans really prospered. With the development of agriculture, the climate's been relatively stable. But we're changing. As Peter mentioned earlier, CO2 levels are currently higher now they're 30% higher now than they have been in the last 800,000 years. And if society continues to add CO2 to the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels, we could be at 900 parts per million by 2100. The last time CO2 was that high in the atmosphere was 35 million years ago. These are huge changes in a very short time. At that time, global temperatures were 15 degrees Celsius higher than they are today. In the words of Jeffrey Keel, who works for the National Center for Atmospheric Research, these are his words: "If we don't start seriously working towards a reduction of carbon emissions, we are putting our planet on a trajectory that the human species has never experienced. We will have committed human civilization to living in a different world for multiple generations. It's not just us." So the consequences of inaction will be painful and costly. And I'll just give two examples. And to place this in context, remember, and this is a saying I'm quoting from Steve Arndt, that climate trains the boxer, but weather delivers the punches. And that's where extreme weather events come into play. These aren't my words, these are from Climate Communications, but I think they said it much better than I could. Changes in extreme weather threaten human health as well as prosperity. Many societies have taken measures to cope with historical weather extremes, but new, more intense extremes have the potential to overwhelm existing human systems and structures. The more frequent and more severe weather events are more likely to destabilize ecosystems and cripple essential components of human life. So that's extreme weather, but there's more aspects to this. The other one is sea level rise. Currently about 160 million people, that's now, live within 1 meter of the ocean, so less than 1 meter above sea level. The latest projections, and they keep getting revised up, not down, is that sea levels will rise between 1 and 1.5 meters by 2100, and then will continue to rise beyond 2100. It's a lot of inertia in the system. So 2100 is really quite arbitrary. And sadly, the least people equipped to deal with these challenges will be those in the developing world. So they're going to feel the brunt, they're going to take the brunt of the burden. I want to make another quote here from Walter Brooker. He says that the climate system is an angry beast and we're poking it with sticks, and it's quite true. So what can we do to avoid angering this beast, the climate system? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to accept that we're the problem. We can't go into denial. The time for procrastinating and looking for excuses has long passed. We've lost about 30 years on dealing with this already. It's time to take responsibility for our actions and work towards mitigating the impacts of global warming and accepting that it will require some sacrifices and it will cost money. It would be naive to think that it won't. So what can you do? Well, we can do a lot of things. We can purchase green electricity, green crop, or more crop power, insulate your house, use a bicycle, public transit, or use a fuel-efficient vehicle. We can purchase energy-efficient appliances. We can consume those. We can make smart choices when purchasing. Do some research. And in doing so, we're kind of voting with our wallet. And that's when people will respond. Now, these actions are meaningful. However, they must act in tandem with strong and enforceable national and international strategies and policies. Politicians have to take a stand and be leaders and do what is right, not only for us, but for future generations. They have to think about intergenerational policy. So mitigating and adapting to climate change is going to be challenging. Estimates are that by 2050, the world will require more carbon-free energy than now, and we currently get from coal, oil, and gas combined. With that said, estimates also indicate that the annual cost of transforming the global energy system would be less than the US currently spends on its military. So it's not undoable. It is doable. We just need some focus and dedication. And the cost of doing something is going to be much less than the cost of doing nothing. So there's no time to waste, because each year's delay adds hundreds of billions to the final cost. It's very asymmetrical. We're putting the carbon out, but it takes a long time for it to come out of the system. We must also not forget that there will be lots of opportunities with the green economy. So I encourage you to keep writing letters to government, make it clear to all levels of government, and make it very clear that where your vote goes is going to be determined by their actions and policy on dealing with climate change, on their leadership. They may not pay attention. They may not pay attention to a few letters, but they do pay attention to thousands of letters. Write letters to the editors of newspapers. Hold the media accountable. The media have really failed us on this, and we need to hold them accountable. Use social media, speak to friends, just spread the word. I also want to finish off here with a quote. I think it's quite apt. It's by Rob Watson. It goes, "Mother Nature is just chemistry, biology, and physics. That is all she is. You cannot sweet-talk her, you cannot spin her, you cannot tell her that the old companies say climate change is a hoax. Mother Nature is going to do whatever chemistry, biology, and physics dictate. Mother Nature always bats last, and she always bats one." And just before I sign off here, thank you all, I just want to give a plug to a website called skepticalscience.com. It's a very useful resource for looking at the science of climate change. It can be confusing. And it's also a really good resource for refuting or dismissing myths put forward by skeptics and those who are in denial about AGW. So if somebody comes to you with a myth or something that sounds really compelling, go to skepticalscience.com, and there will be about 200 myths that are getting around on the internet. So it's a very good resource. Thank you very much.